Bureau, the inaugural event of having someone seek their qualification on Zoom. So we're going to experiment to see how that works. This is a slightly temporary. It's decided with how we will take a look at it after it's over. But I think it was only appropriate since, since I'm wearing a flag tie and since it's a couple days before our national special day, the 4th of July, I will make a recommendation. Oh, that Marilyn is even so much, she's so on the ball. There's a flag behind her. So we're going to have you pledge to Maryland's flag. But a recommendation on my part, I've heard
Randy's got a better one.
So many pledges being given on Zoom where everybody's not on mute, and it sounds like the cacophony of a baseball game. So can we ask everyone to be muted, but still pledge your allegiance? So Marilyn, you want to begin? Okay, are you ready, Marilyn? You're on mute, so you can lead us, and we'll all this time we'll pledge allegiance to Randy Powell.
I'm going to say it.
Oh. Yeah, just say the first few words, and you can.
Okay.
But you're on mute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I probably should have warned you. We have a couple of lip readers in the room, so if you were faking it, why, we'll know that. So anyway, we'll have a report on that later on. No, we won't. Anyway, we have a full program, and I am so happy that everyone was able to make it and didn't get lost out there in the cyberspace someplace. We have a number of people that will be involved coming from far apart. I want to, as I mentioned earlier, one of our QSs, Diane, from all the way from Hawaii, came to join us, and so it's nice that we're able to have her be with us, where she might not want to do all that commuting other times when we're not meeting on Zoom, so that's pretty special. Marilyn brought that up, and I think it's a good thing to bring up. How many of you, just by a show of hands, I guess, because I'm looking at the gallery view, how many by show of hands, this is your first Speakers Bureau meeting? I know there's a few in the audience, yes. And I just got an email or a chat from one of those members who wants to know how to join. So that should make Jose's smile and know the Speakers Bureau might bring it in. He's got an interesting part of his speech he's going to bring up later when I'll be looking forward to having you here. We do have a very full program. We have the immediate past district director from District 100. We have the only accredited speaker in our district speaking and introducing the John Grant, who will be going for his QS, and we have C.F. Hawthorne, a QS, and she'll be speaking to us a little bit later. But if it's okay, can we start with, let me get my glasses out so I can see where we're starting. Oh, and I'll need a timing. I think what time I set aside for it, that doesn't mean you're necessarily limited to it, because we will have time. But I would like, David, would you like to be first?
Tom, if I could just let everyone know.
Oh, right, yes. I'm sorry, you're supposed to make an announcement about how we're going to do our voting and how people can keep track of their chats. Something I don't know, and maybe I'll learn it after the first lesson. Who knows? Study?
Yes. So just a couple things. We are recording this session. If you do not want to be in the recording because it does get posted on YouTube, then go ahead and just shut off your camera, please. If you would like to save the chat, especially those of you who are speakers, people can send you their feedback privately. If you look at the bottom of the chat window where it says to, and then usually it says everyone, or if you're sending it privately to someone, over on the far right, there are 3 little dots there. If you click on the 3 dots, it says save chat. And so you can save the chat to your computer, and then from there you can print it out or do whatever you like with it, okay? And then we are going to vote for the QS candidate using the poll. And the poll will pop up on your screen. It'll just be a yes or no. And we ask that only the QSs vote, please. And any questions about any of those things? All right, back to you, Tom.
Well, thank you, Sunny. You can tell why I need her so desperately, because she keeps me on track. We have designated and asked, and she's agreed to being the official assistant to the Speakers Bureau. And Michael has agreed to be one of the other people that are co-chairs, so he can step in if I decide that I want to spend the time in Tahiti or someplace. Or if my wife kicks me out and I'm sleeping on the street, well, we'll have someone else. The Speakers Bureau will go on. Michael Ozier, the co-chair, by the way, of Speakers Bureau in District 100. So he's going to be busy being co-co. But glad he is here from Northern California. So we're bringing people from around the country. He's visiting here and doing that. And I also would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge one other helper. One of the things I'm happiest about with Speakers Bureau is that you will have access to previous Speakers Bureau meetings. If I remember right, there's 2 of them available. After this, there will be 3. And Rob Gunneman, a member of 3 different clubs in the district, and a brand new member of the debate club, and a member of 1348 and a member of 797. He is taking care of making sure that each of these Speakers Bureau meetings will be posted on our YouTube channel for our Speakers Bureau. So you'll be able to access other meetings that you haven't attended. So that'll be a good thing. Okay. And I take it that we got an answer from
Sonny, can you go over voting again?
What's that?
Can Sonny go over voting again?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sonny, you want to go over that again? You'll chat if I remember
Please.
right. But she'll.
Sure. So when we launch the vote, the poll will show up on your screen. I have it up right now. Please don't vote.
I'm from Chicago. I'm used to voting twice. Is that?
Yeah. So that's how it'll work. You'll either vote yes or no. And again, we ask that only the QSs vote, please.
Yeah, and it'd probably be a good idea to
So
wait
there's
till
no
after
place
you
for comment?
Not in the poll. You
do
would
that
send
by
the
chat.
yeah. You'd send the comments to John privately in the chat.
Thank you, Sonny.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
it
you,
would be
Tom.
preferable that you hear the speech before you vote. Okay. Okay. David, did you say it was okay for you to go first?
Yeah, if you'd like me to, that's fine.
I think we'll sandwich the immediate past district director and the brand new district director, and everybody else is they'll see. I could have put you guys in the middle as the baloney, but I won't do that. Anyway, we have the 2 district leaders first and last, and then the rest of the program in the middle. So let me read. I have an introduction here that was in the flyer, but I want to. Okay, let me read the introduction. I want to have a separate comment. I want to leave with that. What is the best strategy to weather our uncertain times of pandemic, protests, and economic downturn? The best way to defend our Toastmaster way is not to settle into a new normal. As a high school, college, and semi-pro football coach for over 20 years, David Flores, DTM, articulates why being on the offense is not only our best bet to keeping our Toastmasters alive, but also to build and thrive. David Flores is the outgoing District 100 Director, District 100 Speakers Bureau, QS, and the team sports enthusiast. Oh, that's sad right now, isn't it? As team sports enthusiast, in his speech, he will share with you, will be voice against the new normal. My personal comment, though, is I specifically requested David, and I'm so glad he said yes to that. Hopefully he may be a QS someday in our district. But I have been going to the past district governors club for at least 10, maybe 15 years. And all those years, David's speech was the best by a member I heard. And I don't know how much of that will be what he says today, but he very much impressed me as a leader and as a Toastmaster. our first speaker, David Flores. Let's hear it for David.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. I'm check that everybody can hear me okay. So I'm assuming we're good to go. Well, again, welcome everybody. It's been my pleasure to actually be here. I'm glad that Tom invited me. And we talked about the certain conditions we're in, but I want to emphasize this. I am the outgoing district director for District 100, and I've been a district director for 1 year. Now, I'm not going to tell you or even profess to be able to tell you how to have a successful district. With 1 year's experience, I don't know if anybody has that ability. Think about it in this sense. If you go to the hospital and you're going to have surgery and you've got 10 doctors there, each with 1 year's worth of experience, they may claim there's 10 years of experience, but there's only 1 year apiece. So you got to be worried about when people say, oh, I did it this year, I did this year. Every year is different, no matter what it is. So unfortunately, with Toastmasters program, we get 1 year, 1 year only. But that's good because that means we give opportunities for a lot more people to be able to take the roles and work in a leadership position. And it doesn't matter whether it's District 100 or any other kind of business or any endeavor you have, you still want to be able to know how to best approach things. My background and my experience, I'm going to draw from that and kind of share what I learned and give you some insight. I have a prolific idea of sports. I've loved sports. I played sports in junior high and high school. And I was really actually very fortunate. I was fortunate to have gotten into a program that was well known here in Southern California and even a high standard program, which all the other schools in the area were trying to mimic. It was a very successful program. When I went into junior high school, the program there was finishing their 7th year of total undefeated seasons, never having lost a single game in 7 years. That particular school, junior high school, fit into the high school, which was another successful program. It's always in the CIF playoffs. It's always a competitor in the end. So what I've learned over those 5 years and then proceeded to apply those same philosophies in coaching myself is what helped me develop an idea of what it takes to be successful, and no matter what you try to do, what endeavor it is. And the thing I learned more than anything else as an athlete in those programs was obviously discipline, hard work, dedication, and the idea of being part of a legacy with great traditions. And those things, those 3 items, those 5 items are what really make any program successful. And it's always got to be something you proceed to want to do on a continual basis. Being successful 1 year and not the next, or even every other year and not the next, is not really building a successful program or a legacy of success. That is just hit and miss and being lucky at times and non-lucky at others possibly. So what I want to share with you today is the idea of what it takes and what I feel you want to be when you're looking at running a program, even as a district director or any kind of officer. Obviously, you want to be on offense. You want to be the person who's taking control, trying to put points on the board. You don't want to be standing there watching what happens to you. You want to take it to the opponent. In this particular case, in Toastmasters, we don't have any opponents. We have ourselves. Our only challenge is to beat ourselves. It doesn't matter what other districts do. If they win a distinguished level, doesn't mean you can't win a distinguished level. Or in regular sports, if you don't beat your opponent, you're out of the game. You can't be successful after that. So that's the big difference now. So when I say that, we want to concentrate on being able to be successful on a continually going basis. And that's by laying down groundwork. Groundwork I see is obviously what we call the new normal. Now, I want to emphasize starting out with this because I am not a fan of the statement when people talk about the new normal. We are put into a situation where we had to make some changes in how we do our Toastmasters program. But I'm hearing people talk about, well, it's the new normal. We'll never be the same. Things will always be what they were before. It's going to be a wholly different world now. I don't agree with that. When I think about new normal, this is not new. People communicating online, communicating on video, communicating in television. We've seen people communicate all the time in what we refer to now, virtual world. It was televised. Early in the years, it was televised. And when you think about all the great speeches you've seen on TV, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, all those people gave fantastic presentations, but it wasn't the same. You talk to somebody who said, I saw that on TV. I remember that distinctly. That person may say to you, but I was there. You should have been there. I was there in the audience watching it. It's not the same. When we talk about Toastmasters and what Dr. Ralph Smedley started 90-some years ago was to get up in front of an audience and present yourself at a high skill level to command the attention of others. That will still always be the number one criteria of what really makes you an outstanding speaker. With the new technologies, obviously we can hit a broader audience. That is fantastic too. But the real strength is if you can do it live. Even TED Talks has a live audience, even though they are pronounced forbidding videos. So that's my whole idea is I don't believe in saying the new normal. I want us to go back and understand we will be at normal. We will be over this challenge we have right now. Every time we face a challenge, we bounce back and we go back to where we were before, doing what we originally started out to do. And that's why I want to see everybody talk about when we get back to normal, that we start doing things the way we did before and not admit defeat, that we cannot do what we used to do because something came up and challenged us in a way that we cannot do what we used to do. So we want to be back to normal, and we're going to get back to normal. But in the meantime, you got to play the game. You've got to work with what's going on now. Obviously, we have a different set of game plans. And what I look at now with the COVID environment and with the fact that we're doing this all on video, is this is nothing but a game change in play in the field. This is what we call on-field adjustments. We have had to make some adjustments in order to keep the game going, in order to continue to compete in this game. And in this case, in order to continue with our Toastmasters way. That's one of the things we've done now, and we've done a fantastic job. I've seen lots of clubs and lots of districts participating in this format and getting better and better at it all the time. But sooner or later, it's going to come to an end. We will get back to normal, and it's going to be time to dust off the old playbook and put it back into play. Currently, we're making changes. We're making changes in order to do what we need to do to be successful as a district or as anything else you do. You have to adapt to the situations you're in, and that's what we're doing. So don't ever forget, though. Don't throw the old playbook away. You're going to need that when things go back to normal, and that's what I want to see us do again as Toastmasters, that we get back to what we were doing and what our originally game plan was, and what Dr. Ralph Smedley started this whole program with, is for us to be speaking live in front of an audience. Now, we talk about things like the district and the district mission, and what does it take to be successful in that format. The unique thing about the district mission is it's balanced. And I've always heard people talk about different things as far as new clubs versus the existing clubs. But the district mission is balanced. We start new clubs, and we support all clubs for achieving excellence. But you can say it the other way around. We support all new clubs achieving excellence, and we can get new clubs. And that's the fine balance if you want to be successful as a district to do. You cannot totally forget about your existing clubs. A lot of the districts struggle because they don't have membership, but most of those memberships are because we have existing clubs that are struggling to survive and sometimes struggling just to get up to where they want to be. If you find a way, and you need to find a way to balance that measure between new clubs and existing clubs. It's not as if you were going to fill your bucket full of water, but you got holes in the bottom. You're not going to get ahead, and you're not going to succeed because you're going to be fighting that same struggle year in and year out. So you want to build a program that continually builds and adds new clubs, but at the same time, you want to support those existing clubs. It's no different than if I were to say to my juniors and seniors, you guys have been here for 4 years, you can do it on your own. I'm going to concentrate on my sophomores and freshmen and let you guys do your own thing. No, we've got to support everybody the same. We've got to balance that format, new clubs and existing clubs. When you do that, I think you'll find that your total program will excel itself. Now, as part of that program, any team that you belong to, whether it's a district or any other team program you're in, you want your membership to be engaged. You've got to have a large net. You've got to reach out to all your members, all your players. They got to feel like they're part of that team, not just a few people who are running the district, who are district leaders, and who are there to support the district through that format. You need to have the entire team on the playing field wanting to be part of it. So you need to reach out to all members, not just the select few, not people you feel will make your district stronger or make you successful. If you concentrate solely on the district success and forget about the members themselves, you'll fail. You've got to support those members. If the members are successful, the district is successful. Our coaches used to tell us, we never kept stats on what we did individually. He said, if you do what you're supposed to do, the stats will take care of themselves. If you do what you're supposed to do, the scoreboard will take care of itself. So concentrate on your members and get them into the program. Get them in there involved as much as you can. That is the secret to keeping a strong program and a legacy when the people feel they're a part of something and not just sitting on the sidelines watching. When you do that, you will support your district even better. Avoid and be careful on some of the things you do as a district leader, especially if you bring in people that are not part of your district originally, even though because you feel they're strong supporters and can help you a lot in your district, that is fine, but be aware that you can alienate some of your existing membership. It says, if I were to be a coach and I said, I've got my team that I'm playing with, and I decide I'm going to bring in one of my ringers, I'm going to bring somebody else in and replace these players with these new guys because I think they'll make me successful. That is not being a successful leader. If you're a leader, you take the crop you have. When I coach in the public sector. When I went on campus, the kids I had on campus were the kids I got to work with. I didn't have the opportunity to go out and pick and choose who I wanted to be on that team. So it made the challenge the leader. And if you really want to challenge yourself as a leader, take that group, make them the strongest you can. You got to develop with the core that you have, and that's what makes a difference as far as leaders. Many coaches over the years, I've seen them jump from one ship to another when they really saw a great program developing. They would jump ship to take that program itself. And that would be something they would be successful in, but then the years afterwards started to fail, they leave. I had more respect for coaching staffs that stayed in and year out. For good times and bad times. So that's the difference there. So you want to be able to work your team and work your membership, make them feel engaged, put them on committees, make them understand there's different things in the district that need to be done. If you do that, and the more these members get involved at the club level on up, the more they'll share that information with their other members. They'll say, hey, I was doing this on this part of the district. I was doing this. You don't necessarily have to be a district leader to be involved in the district. You need everyone to help you out with that. And that's the difference between being successful as a district leader and having a successful district or a successful program of any sort. If you run in a business, it's no different. You got to have your employees engaged and believe they're a part of the program, they're part of what's going on. So that's my word for everybody these days, is that we are in a new situation. The challenge is different. We've made some adjustments on the playing field to be able to continue what we're doing, but at the same time, when we get back to where we want to be and what we originally started out to do, and not accept anything less than what we started out to, not settle for something different, but go back to what we wanted. Bring your members along, bring that team together, hold them together, and make them a part of the whole program. When you do that, it makes each year easier and easier. And when you're more successful, then you'll have more people wanting to participate in that program. So if you have a successful year this year, you'll be more people want to be involved. If you do it again next year, you'll be involved. But ultimately, what you want to do is support your membership, make them successful, make the players feel like they've accomplished something, help the players succeed to their highest potential. They may not be the best, and they may not succeed as highly as they want to, but at least they've had an opportunity to grow and to become better at what they did. In the ultimate run, in the ultimate end, it's them who's going to make you successful as a district, not you making them successful. So that's the key to that. The final thing is, ask your leadership to stick around. Don't let them get away. On our campus, we had players that showed up that were played for our team 10, 15, 20, 30 years before I played there, walking on the field, supporting us in what we're doing. Keep your leaders engaged. The past leaders that were there, you want to keep them engaged, invite them back, bring them back to talk and be other people. Have them go out and visit your clubs. Rather than just the area director, have the membership, the existing leadership that was past leadership, go out and visit these clubs. Say, I just dropped in to say hi, see how you're doing. I'm a Toastmaster and I've been involved for years. I was a past this or past that. I'm just kind of curious to see how you guys are doing. That shows engagement, and that shows the morale lifter for the members themselves when they see that people are really concerned about how they're doing. And they're not even part of the leadership group. They're just there to support the program that they believe in. And when the more people that support a program that they believe in, the more people want to be engaged, and the more it'll be easier to get support from the membership. So the key to the whole factor is, forget about what's in it for me. As a leader, that's gone. It's not about you anymore. It's all about the people you coach, the people you mentor, the people you work with, the membership you have. In my case, it's always about the kids. Everything we did was about the kids, and we did that year in, year out, and we've always had success in those programs as long as we felt that they were engaged, as long as they felt a part of something bigger than just their club or just their team. They felt a great legacy down the road. And I'm telling you, it is a great feeling to walk somewhere, and when people find out where you played ball or who you played ball for, and they remember you for some, hey, yeah, we remember you guys. You guys were a fantastic program. It really enlightens you and makes you feel great. And that's what I feel everybody should have an opportunity to do. If you're part of a team, especially in Toastmasters, if you're part of a district, you want to be part of that team and you want to see that team succeed. And you want to see every member feel proud of what they've accomplished, because they all play the key role in the success of any district. Tom.
Thank you, David. Such wisdom. I hope you all realize why I wanted to make sure David came and was so appreciative of him coming. So much depth of wisdom. And even those of us who in this district who are not leaders in their district are leaders somewhere. They're a leader in their club, or they're leading in another organization outside of Toastmasters. And so these suggestions and hints, I think, are applicable no matter where you go in life. There's plenty of statistics that show that people who participated in team sports end up being much more likely to be the CEO of their company or the leader of their organization, to learning that skill of being a part of a team, working together toward a common goal. Some of you may remember that I probably most of the last 50 years I managed a team somewhere along the line, and I coached high school volleyball and softball, but I'm sure the talent on David's teams was a lot higher than the talent on mine. But all of that advice really worked well. The one thing I may have missed that you said last time that I thought was important also to mention was to be on constant lookout for those people that might step forward. And that's something we always say, the old line is your first job when you get a position is to find your replacement. But as a coach, you're always looking for those people that, and I remember being surprised so many times when I coached teams to find out that somebody that I initially didn't think was going to be important to the team ended up bringing skills, even if it was just bringing camaraderie and togetherness on the team, even if they didn't bring super athletic talent. So thank you again, David, for your coming and for your presentation, and hopefully we'll see you going for your QS one of these days. Okay. Our second speaker is a member of a club that I belong to. She is a QS. She has, I've heard her speak on numerous occasions, and she always is impressive with her tremendous skills and talent of being both entertaining and intellectual. She, a lot of you know I'm very excited and enthused about being in a debate club, and one time someone whose opinions were very much different than me was surprised that I asked them to come to the club, and I said, well, if everybody in the club agreed with me, it wouldn't be any fun at all. So I know CF certainly we don't agree on everything, but there is no question about the goodness in her heart and the skill and talent that she brings to the table. So our second speaker, timing will be, she said it's 11, but we'll give her the benefit of the doubt going 10 to 14, however, something like that. Let her know, and we will bang the gavel at 15, I guess. But I will read her introduction, and we'll go from there. My fellow Americans, as we gawk at the world today, some of us can agree it is possessed. Our actions and our reactions appear, I lost a haunting madness. The world is under a place, and is in a place of antiquity. And part of my print didn't come out, so I'm going to just go with that. C.F. Hawthorne, a member of Club 797, a successful coach, and on the very cusp of becoming a DTM in our club and on our district. Speaker number 2, C.F. Hawthorne. Let's hear it.
My fellow Americans, I greet you here on the edge of time in the year 2020 of our Lord and Savior. First, I shall thank you, America, for realizing we have a problem. of the newest and oldest methods of understanding racial tension. However, olden days of racial hatred shall have no goodwill towards the reprogramming of our minds once implemented. Together, my fellow Americans, we can reverse this curse of racism. Remembering our ancestors' lives, dying through history, both hands on the Bible whose words they cherish. Because of their blood, we know that racism is not unique. The ancient world has used trees, dogs, ropes, other races, religions, medical disadvantage, and economic bondage to entrench racism upon our ancestors. And this is self-fulfilling in our culture today as we see it unfold. We feel the prickle of racism sagging in the air. We, America, is losing valuable stock because of it. Human killings in broad daylight as if racism has now become a sport. America, we are suffering injustice, prison, jailed, locked up like animals because of it. 99% of us are forced into penury because of it. Our voices are silenced because of it. Our heads are turning because of it. America, let's reverse this curse. There's great wisdom among American people. This wisdom is being lost. Fear, distrust, and envy are evil curses among us, and is therefore control purposes set in place centuries ago. This curse has been placed on our ancestors from the modern plantations in the West Indies throughout the wealthy plantations in the deep South to our culture today. And believe me, America, this is a curse. Think about the superficial games we play to hurt each other. Color, intelligence, our jobs, our status, where we live on a hill or in the valley. East Coast New York versus West Coast Cali. Oh, and let's not forget that sophisticated South. Even hair texture and hair color. Why should that matter, America? We are all humans. This same superficial game that's played among us is no different than the superficial mind games played on the slaves of yesteryears, our ancestors, Nazi concentration camps and Indian reservation camps. We must reverse this curse of isms. And while we at it, let's reverse the curse of all isms, sexisms, classism, ageism. We can do it, and here lies our actions. Be assured, trust is stronger than distrust. Admiration is stronger than envy. Come on, let's go back to love and respect for each other. You young men, listen to the old men with wisdom. Dark skin, light skin, white skin, we're all beautiful. Males and females, let's not forget to love and respect each other. There's nothing more beautiful to the eyes and the heart than love. Elders, we must be overseers of our children. They are watching. It's crucial we trust and depend on their eyes. We must love and respect and trust each other. Criticizing and not helping is criticizing self, and that's not helping at all. Remember, America, a curse has been placed on us. It's there once again for control purposes, to divide us, to conquer us. Speak life into each other. Trust each other. Admiration, love, respect, and self-respect are powerful actions. And positive actions will defeat that invisible monster and reverse this curse. Speak positive words and use them every day. Have your friends and family use them. And never, never, never miss an opportunity to use positive words. If used for 1 year, racism can remain perpetually out of our culture. All isms will be banished. Now, right now, America, is the time for all of us to understand a spell has been cast and the spell must be broken. Broken within our culture, no longer looking and pointing outwards. Any heinous legacy, it can end. It's up to us to end the legacy of hatred and bondage. We can institute a brotherhood and sisterhood of love and completeness. We share the same blood. We're all fighting the same fight. Freedom, equality, and justice for all. Together, America, we can reverse this curse of racism. Together, we can forever cast it out of our culture. Love among the people will self-refuel and self-generate for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands. The world see our pain. The world is living our pain. Now, I'm not here to blame racism on everything that ails us, but be not misinformed. Racism is a gigantic part of our hurt, our sorrows, and our despairs. It's a monster that is no longer invisible, but visible to the world. German-born Pastor Müller said it best once he finished helping Hitler with his evil, heinous plans. Pastor Müller, he found himself jailed in the very same concentration camp that he had jailed other innocent people. And that's when he realized, and he wrote, first they came. First they came for the socialites, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialite. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. America, first they came for the Indians, and I did not speak out because I was not an Indian. Then they came for the Spaniards, and I did not speak out because I was not a Spaniard. Then they came for the Africans, and I did not speak out because I was not an African. But then they came. They came for America. But there is no one left to speak for America. Speak up, America. Reverse the curse of all the ism, especially racism. Mr. Tom?
Thank you. Thank you so much, CF.
You're welcome.
I wanted to, I'll probably say something that no one here in the room knows, maybe someone. I attended a high school of 5,000 that had never had a minority student attend in the history of the school. I'd never attended a school with a minority until I went to college. One of the great values of moving to California was the beauty of the diversity of races and languages and religions and countries of origin. And the greatest benefit of that has been in Toastmasters, as far as I'm concerned, with the ability to talk to people from other cultures and other ideologies and other life experiences. And my life without you in it, CF, would be not as fulfilled. So thank you again for speaking today. Thank you. Our next
Thank you, Mr.
speaker,
Tom.
oh, sure enough. Our next speaker will be a tandem because it's Ed is going to be introducing John Grant to seek his QS. And so I'll ask Ed to do the introduction first, to have John speak first, and then we'll vote. And then you can do your Better Speaker series on impromptu speaking. Is that okay with you, Ed?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
You kind of look
Ed can just about, Ed can go
There
just
they
about
are.
without any introduction. You'll have to announce your time, but you go ahead
Yes.
and begin. And you are introducing our, as is our habit, a QS has to introduce someone else seeking their QS and be their sponsor or their person that announces them. So Ed Ettinghausen, our only accredited speaker in our district, the first of many, right, Ed? And
Yes.
okay, all right. With your guidance, maybe there'll be more in the future. All right, Ed, go ahead.
That's right. Our speaker has been a Toastmaster since December 2013 when he joined Twin Cities business leaders in Temecula. But that wasn't his first exposure to Toastmasters. In 2011, he gave his icebreaker speech at Temecula Toastmasters and did not give another speech for 2 years. But that wasn't his first exposure. It was actually in 1984 when his dad dragged him to his first meeting when he was 17 years old to a Bob's Big Boy in Seattle, Washington. He is currently a Toastmaster for life, now having co-founded clubs, Optimal Speakers Toastmasters and the Next Level Toastmasters, both in Murrieta. He is a charter member of District 12's newest club, Standing Ovations Advanced Toastmasters. He earned his DTM in April of 2018. He is a speaker, author, and entrepreneur. His current focus as a results coach is helping people optimize their health, relationships, and career. He developed a formula called S.E.E.King alignment while writing his first published book, The Unstoppable Mindset for Health. He will share that formula with you now. Please help me welcome John Grant, DTM. The title of his qualified speaker presentation is S.E.E.King Alignment. John Grant.
I was standing on a dry lake desert bed in the high desert of Southern California. I was 3 years old and I'm looking across at my father in a glider, a one-seat glider, and he asked me, "John, do you want to fly with your old man today?" I'm looking up at my Marine father, the test pilot, the once almost astronaut. "Sure, Dad." And I walk over and he picks me up and sets me on his lap. Here I go. I'm looking out. There's this long steel cable stretching out to our big green station wagon we nicknamed the Monster. This thing had to take 2 adults and 6 kids wherever we wanted to go. All of a sudden, he closes the cockpit. My brothers are on either wing and they lift it up. And my dad says, "Go!" My mom stepped on the gas and I'm forced back into my dad's lap. And we're bumping along on that dry lake desert bed. And suddenly, poof, we get some air. And I hear in the wings that beautiful sound. Shh. As we start going higher and faster and higher and faster, and then he reaches under and pulls a lever, clunk. All of a sudden, we are light and getting in alignment with those hot desert thermals as we start going higher and faster and higher and faster. All of a sudden, I'm looking down at the clouds for the first time in my life, those beautiful white puffy clouds. I'm looking up into this serene, deep blue, heavenly sky. It was a beautiful first flight. We went up to 3,000 feet. And as we came down, circling down and landing on that dry lake desert bed, bumping along again, and then coming to a stop and the wing slightly tilts onto the ground. He opens the cockpit, lifts me out. All my brothers and my sister come running over. "John, John, what did you think? How was it?" "It was a little scary and hot." Fellow Toastmasters, MC, that was a beautiful time in my life and a memory of my dad I cherish every day. It gives me great joy. What is it that electrifies you and gives you joy in your life? I will be talking about some things here with you today that you can take with you when you leave. The next thing I know, I'm 4 years old, I'm waking up, I'm walking down to the kitchen, witnessing my parents in an argument. And I say, "What's happening?" They say, "Go back to bed," in a stern voice, and I listen. A few days later, my mom leaves a "Dear Bob" note on the refrigerator. His name was Robert. She packs 14 suitcases, takes 6 kids out of school, and takes us to Catalina Island and starts a new life for us. The next time I flew with my father, I was 18 years old. This time was a bi-wing Pitts, one of those stunt planes. I sit down in an open cockpit. He's behind me in a bubble cockpit. He has a little way of communicating to me. I'm wearing goggles and the leather helmet also have a way to talk to him. My butt is strapped to our chute. I strap in. He says, "Oh, John, here we go." And off we go out over the ocean. We're flying to Catalina Island to buzz my 2 brothers playing softball. He says, "Okay, John, I'm gonna do my routine. Don't you dare barf in my cockpit." I say, "Okay, Dad." And with my best Rocky Balboa voice, go for it. And right away, up he goes in this big loop and right into 2 barrel rolls. And then straight up into a hammerhead, and he slips back down and he says, "How you doing, John?" "Oh, this is the best ride ever, Dad. Do it again, do it again." We go over to Catalina and we buzz my brothers playing softball twice. People stop and look up at these crazy people in the stunt plane buzzing the baseball field. We take a small tour of the island and land at what's called the airport in the sky because it's on the top of a mountain. As we're coming into land in the pits, you cannot see in front of you. So he slips in and at the very last moment aligns and lands on the airport in the sky. That was also a bit scary. These 4 pillars, spiritual, emotional, energetic, and chemical, spelled with a K on purpose, I will let you know why, support our life. We are forged in the crucible of life. It is difficult at times, and conflict keeps coming at us. I encourage you, lean into adversity and build skills to deal with it in a more effective way. That first pillar, spirituality. Growing up in Avalon, there was a un-Catholic church town, and I was at catechism around 12 years old. It was a great time to be studying the Bible, talking with my peers about spirituality and religion, talking with the priests, talking with my teachers, my family. It was just a fantastic way to learn about spirituality and religion. One day, my mom and I are walking out of church, and the priest says, "Excuse me, Miss Rapson," and we turn, and I'm looking up slightly at the Father as he tells us, the church no longer allows children or families of divorce to attend services. This will be your last time. And it felt like God stamped an L on my forehead because I had lost my father to divorce and now my spiritual father. And for about 2 weeks, I contemplated what it is to be spiritual or religious. I also figured out my relationship to God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit is my relationship. And I turned that L inside to love, unconditional love for myself and others. And I give that freely. What is it that lifts your faith up in yourself? How do you help other people have more faith in themselves? It is important to have faith in yourself and faith it until you make it. You are seeking alignment to your purpose, your vision, and what you want more of in your life. The next pillar is emotional. What can you do on a daily basis to lift your emotions and leverage those good feelings or the hard ones to help you get what you want more of in your life? For me, it was this situation. My wife and I are scuba divers. We love vacationing in Hawaii and completely unplugging another island paradise, just a beautiful place. And we go there and we relax and rejuvenate. We recharge the batteries. It was Christmas 2016, and I looked at my phone. It said my brother had been emergency helivac to the ICU in Long Beach Memorial. And I thought to myself, wow, I knew he was in failing health, but I didn't know it was this serious. I thought to myself, I want to go visit him and lift his spirits and really see what I can help with. And I tell my wife, my brother's in the ICU. She says, what are you doing looking at your phone? We're supposed to be unplugged. Oops. Not the first time I upset my wife. Probably not the last. When we got back to the mainland, we went and visited my brother. I'm looking down at him at this time in my life. And I have 3 of the 5 things that put him in that hospital bed. I have obesity, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver. He has congestive heart failure and COPD, a trouble breathing. And I put my foot down in that moment and I said, I will not go down that path. And in that instant, I had an emotional reaction that I could leverage to help me create better health in my life. And 2 years later, I was 46 pounds lighter, no longer had type 2 diabetes, and my fatty liver was healed. That is seeking alignment to your purpose, your vision, and what you want more of in your life. How are you leveraging your emotions in a moment's notice on a daily basis to get more of what you want in your life? You're seeking alignment and finding you're unstoppable. The first pillar, spirituality. The second pillar, emotional. The third pillar, energetic. What are you doing on a daily basis to raise your energy and that of others? If you see someone low energy, how do you help them? For me, I remember this time as a kid on Catalina Island, grabbing my surfboard, a backpack full of water and some food, and hiking 10 miles to the backside of Catalina where the surf is, surfing all day, and then hiking home 10 miles. When you add surfing, you know, that's about 26 miles. I met this gentleman in my Twin Cities Toastmasters Club. You may know him. His name is Ed Win-Win Ettinghausen, and he's an ultra-marathon runner. He gave this speech with all these buckles. He almost had to bring them in on a wheelbarrow. He holds the record for the most 100-mile runs. Now, he made a challenge to me in that Toastmaster Club to coach me to complete my first marathon. Afterwards, talking to him, I gave him the excuse, oh, I played basketball all my life. My knees are shot. So the next time I hear him give the speech and offer the challenge, Ed, I think I'm too old to complete a marathon. Now, the third time I heard him give the challenge, he's speaking at a health fair at our wellness center. And I tell him, okay, Ed, I take up that challenge. I am going to walk a marathon for a pattern of success in my health. I started walking on the treadmill 15 minutes a day, just 15 minutes a day. That was my start. I did that for 2 weeks and bumped it up to half an hour, then an hour. Then I walked a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and finally it came time for the big LA marathon. I walked from Dodger Stadium to the Santa Monica Pier, and I can tell you on the 18th mile, I hit a wall. My legs hurt horribly. My feet had blisters. It was adversity like I had never faced. I sat down for a moment. I thought to myself, how am I going to complete this marathon? And I remembered as a kid, I would walk the backside of Catalina Island and surf. I got up and I finished that marathon in 8 hours and 12 minutes. When I put this medal around my neck, I knew I had created a pattern of success in my health that would serve me every day going forward. How can you create a pattern of success in your life that raises your energy just like that? On a daily basis, you can count on something. You can help others raise their energy. Now, pillar 1 is spiritual. Pillar 2 is emotional. Pillar 3 was energetic. This 4th pillar is chemical, spelled with a K, to let go of perfectionism. I would never have written my book if I held on to perfectionism. I encourage you, just let it go. Chemical alignment is every day. How are we aligning with our chemical being? I like to talk about hormone balancing because those are the messengers that communicate to your cells. It's important to get your hormones checked and understand hormone balancing. The 4 happy brain chemicals, though, are dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin, that love drug we get. I'm giving you a virtual hug because I need that boost of oxytocin. Dopamine is that happy drug. You get it when you get around people. A lot of you go out for coffee and you're just so excited to meet with someone. When you drink coffee, it actually gives you a boost of dopamine. You also get a lot of caffeine. Serotonin is that drug that makes you ambitious. Go find a mate. Do something with your life. Raise someone's serotonin and they will go do something. Endorphins are that drug that just floods our bodies when we're working out or running or walking. It helps repair our bodies, muscles. When I work out, I'm so sore, but it just feels so blissful. Oxytocin is my favorite. We get it when we go to Toastmasters meetings and we get around people that we enjoy being around. It's this community drug in the drugstore of your mind. How do you flood your drugstore of your mind with these happy brain chemicals more often and get in alignment? Now, we're scuba divers, my wife and I, and we're on a scuba diving trip to Catalina Island. We dropped down to about 55 feet. This is called a drift dive. The boat moves off. And we're swimming towards this underground mountain. All of a sudden, I see a harbor seal, and it's hiding behind rocks. It's darting from rock to rock, and then all of a sudden it takes off. At that time, I look behind me, and I see this big gray-white fin disappear into the murk. Yes, there was a great white shark behind us. If it was hungry, I would not be here giving you this speech. My wife's okay because sharks are a man-eater. We finish our dive, but I had to calm down the flood of chemicals in my body. I knew that if I told her we're in the water with a great white shark, she'd to the top and walk on water to get out of there. I had to calm down, finish our dive. We surfaced safely. I look to the boat and I give an okay sign. They give an okay sign back, but they're not coming towards us to pick us up. They're using the boat to drive that big white shark out of the bay. I know what's going on. Do I tell my wife? No. I want to keep us calm, but I can tell you the whole time I'm looking down, where's the next shark? I never felt so happy to get on that boat. What are you doing on a daily basis to get in alignment with your chemical being? How can you help others raise their chemistry to be happy? So those 4 pillars supporting our life: spiritual, emotional, energetic, and chemical, spelled with a K. Utilize these on a daily basis to get in alignment with your purpose, your vision of what you want more of in your life. Seeking alignment can help you soar in a glider, in a pit, like an eagle, going higher and faster and higher to your next level. Mr. MC.
Where Ed takes over and takes some suggestions from members of the audience. Ed, ready to go?
Yes, I am right here. Okay, so first off, do we have any questions for John Grant from his speech? And then we will get some comments, starting with the Q&A and then with the general audience. So questions for John, please raise your hand in the chat room and the Zoom. Questions? No.
John,
Then we-
what audience do you plan on giving the speech for? Or can you describe the type of audience you would give the speech for?
Yes, I would develop a keynote speech around this to help people battle type 2 diabetes and eliminate that from their lives, or get on track to eliminate that. I also offer it in workshops and on virtual summits.
Good, great question. And if there's not any other questions, I don't see any hands going up, so we will go into QS, evaluations for John. And John, could you put this on the profile? Yes, there we go. Excellent. Okay, now I can see. All right, so QSs, at this point, please give John some feedback on his presentation. We're looking for the things you particularly liked about John's speech and you'd like to see him continue to do. And then if there's areas that you think maybe there's room for some little bit of tweaking or improvement, John would appreciate hearing that as well. So please comment if you have something you'd like to say. QSs at this point, give me the raised hands. We can call on you. Suzanne, wiping your eyebrow, that gets you right there. That you put your hand up as well. So Suzanne Leonard, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I love it. I've heard this, you're practicing, and I love your enthusiasm about it, your stories about your family. For me, I would like to have seen the engaging of the seeking component, which I think is brilliant, a little sooner. So somehow a large part of it was set up. So for me, that could come sooner because that's applicable to my life. Although your personal stories and your beginning, I like very much, but just engage me a little sooner in the basics. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate that. Looking for other QSs, and you got to be careful. It's like I see David Flores pointing to his eye. I see Randy with his. I see Ralph Rivers. Was there a hand from Ralph Rivers?
Yes. Thank you so much, and thank you for that speech. I think that your enthusiasm is impressionable. And we see that you really want to win over an audience, and I think therein lies some of the conflict that I saw. I think that you were trying a little too hard. Also, it was hard to follow you because you hit so many subjects, and some of them were, I don't think, germane to the emphasis of participation that you were trying to get. You're trying to get people to see that they can be better than they are. I just think that the story was a little bit too scattered. I also would make one other comment. This medium is very difficult to give a speech on because you cannot move too much. I don't know whether it's our technical expertise and the different means that we use, like iPhones and so forth, but moving too much starts to blur and starts to cut out, and it has a lot of difficulties. So I just think that if you would give this speech over, you would cut out some of the stories, try to get one or two good stories and stick to them, and kind of be a little more, I hate to say, it's a little more stilted in your movements. Usually we tell people move around, but I think that that one's just a little bit too more movement. But thank you for your enthusiastic stories and all the wonderful quips and memories about your life. I appreciate that, Mr. QS.
Thanks so much, Ralph. It's a very good point about movement on Zoom. I see a hand from Cindy.
Hi,
Yes.
John. Thank you so much for that speech. It was very inspiring. And while I agree with Ralph that there was quite a bit of movement and speed, I also thought you were very effective in terms of moving in, the fact that you're stepped back away and so we can see more of your upper body, your gestures. I thought were really good, just needing to balance that with having too much movement where it blurs. The thing that I noticed, there were two things. The first was that you have this kind of lilting rhythm in your voice, and I don't know if that's from practicing too much, but even when you were telling the scary parts of the story, like about the shark, that lilting was still there. The other point is your facial expressions didn't really match what you were saying in the story. So I was expecting to see a little bit of fear, a little bit of hesitancy, especially around the shark story. And you sort of had the same kind of smile on your face most of the time. There were times where your face went a little more serious, but I didn't see or feel fear. So maybe work on the emotional delivery of your speech a little bit more. But otherwise, really, I think the stories were great, good illustration, and I love the fact that you spelled the chemistry or chemical, sorry, with the K. I just think that is so clever.
Thank you. Very good, Cindy. Thank you so much. Maybe one more comment. I see Karen. Mark Lucas, but it's actually Karen. Go ahead, Karen.
I pushed him out of frame. Thank you very much,
Okay.
John, for your speech. You were very enthusiastic, as you previously heard. And because you did read us in that this is intended to be for a targeted audience regarding diabetes and being able to level up health, this is something that I am pre-framing my comments through as a filter. If I was that avatar, one of the things that really would help is being able to button up those stories and tighten them up, potentially having a foundational phrase of sorts. And also, for the near future at least, we are going to be on this sort of medium, this sort of infrastructure. And if you want to be a professional speaker tomorrow, you have to consider that there is a very different way you present in these little Brady Bunch boxes that is vastly different than how you do it IRL in real life. So there is a whole type of flow that needs to happen. And even though you were enthusiastic, the stories were much longer for this platform than necessary, and they may have detracted from your overall goal. So I highly encourage you to consider how you're going to land what you intend to say. This is really important. And as somebody who's been at Caltech for 10 years for chemical engineering, chemistry with a K is like telling me you're trying to sell me a car with quality for a K, because the K means quality. It really landed flat with me, but that's just anecdotal to me. It's really a rough sell. If you're talking to me about diabetes and something in terms of health, I need to know your background and why you're a trusted asset. And the fact that you know what you know and that you are somebody I know, like, trust. Because you're John Grant and you're into scuba diving, I already have that. But if I were somebody you were trying to get paid from, that would be a rough sell. Please consider just polishing some of those things with the people that have gone before me as well as myself. And we look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you for your message tonight, sir.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Karen. Tom.
Yes, I guess I'll speak for the two of us here. Connie didn't have anything to add, but I wanted to speak a little bit on the other side of that coin about the movement. Part of what I took into account subconsciously or consciously, all that movement, because you can bring this to the stage when it's done in person. So rather than hitting you too hard for the pixeling out and so on, said, okay, well, this is what he does here. If you're doing it on Zoom, you might want to do less, but you're prepared. I can tell you showed us that you're prepared to give this same speech with plenty of body language and motion. So actually, I kind of thought that you did fairly well using the Zoom technology. The bringing of the humanality of you as a person is always good. There's a basic rule of thumb, I think, in speaking is when you're through speaking, you want people to like you as a person. And they'll accept all kinds of difference of opinion, but if they still think that you're a good person, and I think came across as a human being with the life experiences and the challenges and the weaknesses and that sort of thing, I think was a very good touch. And of course, you had some good humor in there, and I appreciate that. Thank you, John.
Thanks so much, Tom. And now we'll open up to anyone at all in the Zoom audience that would like to give John some feedback. He'd appreciate that, hearing your words of wisdom and your words of encouragement and what you liked. And looking for any hands going up. Maybe it's all been said. Oh, I see Kimberly. Yes, Kimberly, go ahead.
Hi, John. Hi, Ed. I want to tell you, I have seen this presentation several times, John, and I really, really enjoyed seeing you give it tonight. I see all of the areas that you've worked on. I see a lot of improvement from just your overall energy. The nervousness wasn't there. You were very polished, although there were quite a bit of stories, as was mentioned. I think you tried to align them with each part of your speech, which had value. And I really, really think that as a speaker, you would definitely impact the audience that you would engage with when you're speaking to that health piece, diabetes, and how they can, you know, reposition their health, if you will, by taking your model of seeking into consideration. I just want to tell you, great job. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. And at this point, we will return control of the meeting over to the MC, Tom Jameson.
Well, actually, we're going to turn it over to you. You're going to do us the better. Oh, yes, we can take a vote, I think, if Sunny is ready. And if she's not, we will hold off. There's a little bit of a problem because a couple of our QSs are duals, as we are. So if one vote and the other one might be chatted to Gail, Sunny, if that's okay.
Yes, and Tom, just one question. How much should we take into consideration the Zoom aspect of his presentation?
All I can suggest there is that each individual qualified speaker has to make that decision for themselves. So if they think that he should have done it all differently because it was on Zoom, or if they think that that take into account whether you think he's ready to be one of our qualified speakers. I think the bottom line is that's the way you look at it. Is this person ready to go on to be a part of our group of QSs?
Okay, so I'm launching the poll. Yes means that we are accepting John as a qualified speaker, and please only QSs vote. Yes,
and remember it's a 2/3 vote for approval. So, and if you're a couple and you like the Lucases, then chat one vote in to Sunny.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. I am having technical difficulties. We'll have to vote at the end.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, and now for our accredited speaker to teach us how to, I don't know whether he actually prepared this or whether this presentation on impromptu speaking is impromptu, but we will have Ed. I know he'll do well no matter whether he is totally prepared or caught flat-footed. No, he's, I'm sure he'll do a good job. Ed, tell us all about impromptu
Is
speaking.
he being timed? You want timing, Ed?
Yeah, 15 minutes, I think, and if, however he fits into that, that's great. I don't think
Okay.
it'll be over
Okay,
50.
cool.
All right, Tom, thank you for that introduction. This is from the Better Speaker series, and it's really to give people the opportunity to expand speaking abilities in certain particular areas. This happens to be impromptu speaking. And I purposely came prepared with some comments for an outline, but I also wanted to see if I could pick up from some information from other speakers, because that's one of the opportunities that we have for impromptu speaking. Is really, it's like an expanded version of a table topics. It's basically a table topics on steroids. I'm a runner and a running coach, and I speak to a lot of people who run marathons. I happen to run what's called ultra marathons, and typically my favorite is the 100-mile distance. And people will ask me, marathoners will ask me quite often, well, Ed, I don't know how do you do that? A marathon, I'm so, after a marathon, so worn out. I cannot imagine doing an ultra marathon. But the reality is they already have the skill. They just need to change their pacing and they can get through a longer distance. Well, all of you have the skill to give an expanded impromptu speech. If you've given an impromptu speech, a table topics, you have the skill. What scares us is that timeline. An impromptu speech that's 5 to 7 or 10 to 12 or 15 minutes or longer, that's the scary portion of it, because how do we fill that? Well, in reality, sometimes it's easier to talk longer than less. This is attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but it's actually Blaise Pascal who said, I would have written you a shorter letter if I had more time. Winston Churchill said, if you want me to give a 30-minute speech, I can prepare that within a couple of days. If you want it to be a 3-minute speech, it's going to take me 3 weeks. Now I'm paraphrasing. Basically, the point is more difficult because you just get to the point. Impromptu speaking is taking whatever comes at you, like music in the background, and figuring out how can you bring it into your speech and say, that was planned. Thank you. You came in right on cue. I asked you to come in right when I said the last words about Winston Churchill. You did, so thank you. I appreciate that. Impromptu speaking is really about taking a subject that you want to speak about and giving impact to your audience. This happens when there's a speaking spot available and either speaker doesn't show up or no one fills the spot. So this is typical of a Toastmaster meeting where the Toastmaster will come on and say, we have an opening. Does anybody want to give an impromptu speech or a pocket speech? And typically everyone's kind of cowering in their seats thinking, no, I'm not ready. I can't do it. Well, the beauty of giving an impromptu speech is we don't need you to be perfect. In fact, you don't have to be perfect in any speech that you give, obviously. We're Toastmasters, we're forgiving, we're understanding. We'll catch you when you fall. But an impromptu speech gives you the opportunity to expand, to stretch beyond what's comfortable. So if you're given the opportunity, take it. I have one of my clubs I'm a member of, they heard me speak 3 weeks in a row. Not because I took the spot on the agenda, it's because I showed up and there wasn't a speaker. We need someone to step up and speak. Okay, I'll speak. By the time I'd given a third speech, I think they're all ready. Anybody, please, can anyone speak except Ed? And so that's how I am. I'll take the opportunity. You give it to me, I'm going to take it. But you can incorporate what's already been given to you. It's a gift. In improvisation has what we call players. They're actors, but players. And improvisation is rarely done with a single person. There's multiple players because we give gifts to each other. And we accept, we don't block. So for example, in improv, if I were to say, the sky is blue, it's a beautiful day, and then someone takes over the storyline, no, it wasn't blue at all, it was gray and dark, it was a terrible day. Well, that's blocking. Instead, they would say, oh, the sky was blue and a beautiful day, but there was a rainbow with no clouds. I've never seen that before. And that's the opportunity you have with impromptu speaking. You can get up and take the theme that the Toastmaster is given, or play off of something that's already been said. For example, David Flores talked about what's in it for me. He said that's not what you do when you're a team player, when you're coaching others, and also as part of a Toastmasters group. Well, that's something we look at when we give a speech, is what's in it for you. Especially in an impromptu speech, you're looking for making an impact on your audience in some way. How many of you have actually given an impromptu, unplanned speech beyond the table topics? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, I see probably about a fourth, and I saw a thumbs up. Thank you there. Do you remember the very first impromptu speech that you ever gave in your life? Now, I asked that really kind of tongue-in-cheek because we speak impromptu every single day. The first words out of your mouth was an impromptu speech. You didn't plan it. Mama, dada, you didn't have any organized outline. You just spoke. We do that all the time, but when we get in front of an audience with a number of people, suddenly it's a scary adventure for us. I remember what I would call my first impromptu speech. I was running for 8th grade president, and I did what all candidates would do, trying to get a vote in the 8th grade. I will turn the drinking fountains into chocolate milk water, and we'll double recess, and we'll make sure the teachers don't give us any homework for the weekend. Promises that obviously I could never keep. Now, part of how I remember this being an event that actually wasn't such a good experience, I was slumped forward, my hands were shaking, I was sweaty, and I remember the shirt I was wearing. It had a roller coaster image on it. How do I remember this? Because it's now permanently in infamy, because in our 8th grade yearbooks, there is a picture of all the candidates for 8th grade president, and there's a picture of Eddie with long blonde hair. I had hair back then, slumped forward, looking kind of down, giving an impromptu speech. Now, somehow, out of all the other candidates for the 8th grade, and by the way, my class was only 28 students, somehow I got voted in, and my next speech in the 8th grade was the exact opposite. It was a scripted speech. I rewrote and rewrote and rewrote that speech over and over and over. I memorized it. It was rote speech. That's also not the best speech I've ever given in my life. Somewhere in the middle is what I do at this point. So taking what's been given to you as a gift and giving an impromptu speech out of it, you could take a subject and you can give pro and con. I can take C.F. Hawthorne's speech and give pro and con. I could also take her speech and say, you know what about bias and prejudice, and maybe find a story that ties into that and John's experiences with his dad. So that I remember, it comes to mind. Someone just reminded me about that. Yes, thank you so much. It's the airport story. Appreciate that, coming online there without being muted. They reminded me about that airport story. The story of Tom. He's getting ready for a flight, and he has some time, and he goes to the airport, and there's Mrs. Phil's cookies, and he buys a half dozen of the small cookies, and he finds a spot waiting for his flight to be called and sits down to enjoy his cookies. And he takes a cookie out of the bag and eats it, and the woman sitting next to him reaches in and also takes a cookie, one of his cookies, out of his bag and eats it. Didn't even ask permission, just ate his cookie. And then he didn't want to confront her about this, so he took another cookie and ate that, and sure enough, she did the same thing. The third cookie that he ate, and then she took the last of the cookies, and at least she had the decency to break it in half and give him half of the cookie. But Tom could not believe this woman. Her flight was called. She got up, she left. She had designer luggage. She had really fancy jewelry. This woman obviously had money. Why did she need to be a cookie thief stealing his cookies? Well, Tom got onto the flight and was about to stow his carry-on on the overhead. Remembered he had bought a book at the bookstore. He wanted to read that during the flight, unzipped his carry-on, opened it up, and what was in his carry-on? A bag of 6 miniature cookies. He had forgotten that he had put that inside of his carry-on bag when he sat down next to this woman. He thought those were his cookies. Now, his prejudice towards this woman and the judgment he made about her, his reality was based on what he perceived to be true. Wasn't really true. But can you imagine this woman who knew those are her cookies getting onto her flight and telling everybody, you will not believe this young man. I sit down, I've got my cookies, and I'm ready to take the first one. He reaches in and takes the first one. I get the next one, he takes the next one. He didn't even ask me. Tell you about a cookie thief. 2 different perceptions from 2 different people's experiences. And you could say based on whatever biases that they may have had. Now, when you give a story in an impromptu speech, the bottom line is there has to be something that's in it for the audience, as David said. What's in it for me, or for the audience, what's in it for you? So what's the takeaway?
All right, when it feels time.
That's correct. The takeaway, I just was reminded about that by our little bit of information right there. The takeaway could have actually multiple parts. You could have a fun takeaway, like when you go to buy cookies, how about buy 2 bags? You can give a bag to the stranger sitting next to you. And there could be another takeaway. And the takeaway could be, you tell me. Unmute and give me a takeaway based on what you've heard about Flores talking about teamwork, about CF talking about the ugliness of previous prejudice in our country, John's story about seeking alignment, and now a cookie story, a cookie thief. Could there be a takeaway that you could give to your audience to help wrap up your impromptu speech? I see a hand, Art Douglas.
Hi, thanks, Ed.
Yes.
My takeaway would be buy that extra bag of cookies because you can always benefit by doing something loving for somebody else. You might never see them, but they'll tell the story about you for the rest of their life.
I love that. That's a great takeaway. And if you can end any speech, I always feel like a great way to end a speech is always on a high note, end with hope. Help other people excel is an acronym you could use for hope. And Art just described that perfectly. You can always add some value, give someone something that they can talk about to everybody else that they encounter simply from a little story. And that's what I believe the core of impromptu speaking is about. Finding a way to take just information that's provided you, the gift that's given to you, making stories that you might have in the past. And that story, by the way, is a story that it's amazing how many speakers own that story. Zig Ziglar says it was his brother, Tom. In Chicken Soup for the Soul, they talk about that story. And there's other speakers who present that story as if it happened to them or someone that they know. The bottom line is there are stories out there that we can incorporate into an impromptu speech, and we could use that to make a point, to make an impact on others around us. And anytime you have the opportunity to give an impromptu speech, that's always a chance to stretch, to try something different, to try something scary. And what if you fall on your face? What if you give an impromptu speech and it doesn't quite turn out the way you expect? What's the worst that can happen from an impromptu speech? Simply, people around you can say, well, I think he could have done a better job. I think he could have made more impact. All right. But the reality is, if they weren't the one taking the opportunity to get up, it's kind of hard to be the person to cast that first stone. And I've heard it happen, and it's very sad when this does happen, when someone gives an impromptu speech and their evaluator talks about how they came up with so little preparation. Well, that's an impromptu speech. You don't necessarily prepare. If you have some stories in your back pocket, that is great. And if you have a speech that you've memorized, that's not really an impromptu speech. Impromptu speaking is about getting out there, taking the opportunity, seeing where it goes, and trying to bring it to a place where you can bring impact to your audience. So I'm going to encourage all of you, the next time the opportunity arises in your club to give an impromptu speech, an unplanned speech, take the gift of what's already been given, what's already been said, find a story that's your own or one you've heard, and make an impact on your audience. And if you can, at the end, leave them with hope. Mr. MC.
All right, thank you, sir. Wonderful job. If we have a little bit of time at the end, I may ask the speakers, I haven't told them ahead of time, that to be available to respond to questions. But I did want to mention one thing and have Michael mention something. I haven't told him this either, about his particular club that is all about impromptu speaking, and he can do a little commercial for that. But there's a quotation, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, that it's Lance Miller that says stage time, stage time, stage time. So as you said in your presentation right now, Ed, I never turned down the opportunity to speak. And Michael, you want to tell us, give your little commercial about spontaneous speakers?
Why, thank you, Tom. A spontaneous speech. The fourth Sunday of every month. I believe it starts at 5 p.m., but it might be 6 p.m. We're on Zoom. Just let me know if you're interested. Text me or email me. There's a Toastmaster. They give the topic to the speaker. They have 1 minute to prepare, and they have to speak for 4 to 6 minutes. We have 2 of those. And then we have 2 full rounds of table topics. Everyone gets to do table topics at least once, and most get to do it twice. It's totally spontaneous. Every role is spontaneous. You draw from the hat on the role you have. So whether you're the Toastmaster, evaluator, general evaluator, timer, grammarian, whatever it is, everything in the club is spontaneous. Not for the faint of heart, but it does make you a better speaker. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Michael, for that. I know I stole your job of counting the votes. It worked out better. I appreciate your offering to do so, though. But the good presentation. I know I've belonged to that club for a while, and it's a good experience. Our last speaker, our final speaker, we started the meeting with the immediate past district director on the day after his last day in office. And we thought it was pretty special to be able to have Jose be the first, be on his very first day in office as the district director. And so let me read his introduction. Jose Preciado, UTM, US, will be sharing his vision for the next year on the office of our new district director. He hopes to inspire us to achieve next year. And Jose first attended Speakers Bureau when he was not yet a Toastmaster, and was inspired then to get involved with Toastmasters, and inspired then to go on and become a district leader. So our new district director, with his vision of the future, Jose Preciado. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Tom. And welcome everybody to our new year, 2020-2021. We are very excited. We know that we have a little bit of a challenge. We picked a theme for next year, or for this year now, and the theme is challenge your limits. What's amazing is that we picked that theme 2 years ago, and I think that it's more appropriate now than ever. So my talk for the next few minutes is going to be around our vision or goals that we have for this year, But also, I want to reach out to each and every one of you to help us out with that vision that we have. If you are a TLI, you probably heard me say that our vision is to become President's Distinguished on this, the first year of Pathways. Now, our goal is to have that team that's going to be in Paris on August 2021 carry that huge sign that says, District 12, President's Distinguished on the inaugural year of Pathways, or foundation year of Pathways. People always remember first. So as the legacy program ended yesterday, today, we are starting a brand new legacy. This legacy is going to go for how long? 20 years, 50, 100, we don't know. But people will refer to the first year of this when we start this legacy, which is 2020, 2021. So that's one of the reasons why we want to be President's Distinguished, because of the whole world will be watching. So we want to feel good. We want to have that feeling. But there's another reason, and it's probably the most important reason. And that is, we want to become President's Distinguished because of the growth that we are going to have. I used to have a mentor, as some of you know, and he will always say, you should try to earn $1 million. Not for the money, he will say, because you can take that money and give it away. But you want to do it because of the person that you become in the process. And that's why we want to be President Distinguished, because of the growth we are going to have, not only ourselves, but our teams and their teams below. It's a growth for everybody. Now, I love Speakers Bureau, and I'll tell you why. Let me share my story. I joined Toastmasters in May of 2013. And it was a Tuesday afternoon. I'm working on my computer. I decided, okay, today's the day. So I made a phone call. And the other person on the other side of the line was a man, very pleasant. He said, oh, don't worry about it. We meet tomorrow at 7 a.m. We are a pleasant bunch of guys and girls, and we just have fun. So come on over. So Wednesday morning, I go to coffee and Toastmasters in Redlands. And the venue was beautiful. It was at Cutler's Group. It was a insurance company that insured churches. Beautiful. They had this huge table. I don't remember how many chairs they hold, maybe 20 or 25. Beautiful chairs. They wouldn't even allow anybody to put any drinks on the table because it was so beautiful. Then the program started and the speakers came up. Some of you knew Grace Lefebvre-Vossard. She was the first speaker. And then we had a couple other speakers that were so great. I was so intimidated that I said, this is it. This is way over my head. Luckily, at the end of the meeting, they made some announcements. And one of them was, remember, is Wednesday, the 1st of the month. We have Speakers Bureau tonight. And we have a guest, Dana Lamont. Well, I had no idea what any of this was, but I decided to give it a try. And I did. I listened to Dana. I bought a couple of his books, and I was very impressed with his talk. So I went home. The following morning, I'm at Costco and my phone rang, and it's Dana on the other side. I go, whoa. I said, not in a million years I will think you will call me. He said, well, you forgot to give us your zip code for your credit card. so then we had a conversation, and based on that conversation, I am still here. I am convinced that If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here talking to you. And the other person that I talked to the day before and that day was Jeremiah Lyle. Jeremiah, our immediate past district director, was the first person I ever talked to in Toastmasters. So because those two people, I'm here. And we are starting a new journey as your district director, which I'm very proud and humble. But now, that being said, we need your help. As QS that you are, we need you. The new trio that we're here, I see Suzanne, I don't see Morris, but the three of us have been talking for the last weekly for the last 6 weeks. We've been busy. We've been putting a lot of programs together and in place, and we're doing good. And one of the things that we want to reach out to you as a QS is to ask you to help us promote Speakers Bureau. I joined, as I said, 7 years ago, I joined Toastmasters. For those 7 years, we most of the time have had about 50 people in Speakers Bureau. My vision and our vision will be to have at least 100 people every single month, whether we are on this platform or back in our own VA hospital at the auditorium there. Whichever the platform is, I would love to have 100 people minimum in it. Now, to do that, we will have to change a lot of the things that we are doing on Speakers Bureau right now. And the main one will be to give Tom, Connie, Sunny Gale, and Michael Osher some help. They've been doing all the work. So we need your help. We need you to help us promote outside media, newspapers, within our district, promoting within the clubs. I'm asking if maybe you could possibly adopt a club. I learned just a few days ago from a past district governor, and I don't know whether it was a program, but it was a statement. They called this twins. They called this clubs that are in between 12 and 20 that every year they almost make it, but they don't. Maybe one year there are 2 members short. The next year there are 1 or 2 educational short. And they're almost there all the time, but they don't make it. So I'm asking you as a QS, adopt one of these clubs. They used to call them twins. We can call them whatever we want. But adopt one of these clubs and help them go over that hurdle, that bump that they have been, that has been stopping them from achieving the goal that we'd like to have for them. Can you imagine the satisfaction you're going to have as a QS when you are working with a club that hasn't been president's distinguished for maybe never, or maybe the last 10 years. And now they are because you were there. And it's not that you're going to do the work, but there will be fresh ideas, fresh, different ways of doing things, motivation. The other thing that will happen if you help us do this, let me rephrase that. Not if, but when you help us do this, the other thing that's going to happen is that you are going to motivate people to come out of that club and into our Speakers Bureau. So if we can start bringing people from within our district and from the outside. I wasn't a Toastmasters the first time I came. I became a Toastmasters because I came to Speakers Bureau. So it can happen. So those are the things that I really wanted to speak to you about today. We need your help. I was talking to Tom a couple of days ago, and we have around 40 QSs. We have more clubs than 40 that need your help, our help. We had our Toastmasters meeting this morning. I'm still a member of Coffee and Toastmasters, so is Jeremiah. And we had a meeting this morning, and probably most of you know Jack Nelson. Well, Jack had a quote this morning. He didn't remember who said this quote, but I'd like to share this with you. The quote says this: "It's amazing what can be done if we don't care who gets the credit." It's amazing what can be done if we don't care who gets the credit. So I'm asking, help us do this, not because you're going to become a DTM or because you're going to get a credit of some kind, but help us do it for the right reason, to give back, to help District 12. Now, as I said a few minutes ago, our theme for next year is challenge your limit. Challenge your limits. When you challenge your limits, you create opportunities for others, and we all benefit in the process. With that, I am going to turn it back to you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. When you mentioned that 100, I was starting to get a little mind boggled, but you have some great thoughts and plans for that, us to help achieve that goal. And if we get some people with expertise, say, and making contact on social media, making contact to the press, and to figure out how we can get others, non-Toastmasters even, to attend. We try to keep putting on great program, and we will do so. Those of you can bring, I mean, the entrance fee is reasonable. We keep the price down. By the way, our next meeting, so I don't forget, we'll have you chat, by the way, chat to Michael Osier for the vote. Those of you who are QSs voting, in the chat column, vote yes or no on John Grant and his presentation. But yes, a goal for 100 is certainly wonderful, and it would be a great boost to Toastmasters, our district, and all of those clubs that will get members out of people that might show up and be impressed with Toastmasters. So try to bring friends and acquaintances, and that would certainly be good.
Remind only qualified speakers.
Yes, only, as was mentioned, I think I said that only qualified speakers get to vote. So please chat we have. I remember though when I first, I think, stepped in as chair about a number of years ago, 5 years ago or so, whatever it was, saying my goal was to have 50 people in average attendance. Well, we did a little bit of that a couple times, but it's been dropping a little bit. But with a little help from our friends that are QSs, the sky's the limit. We can accomplish some good things. Next month's meeting I mentioned is going to be August the 5th, and the same price, $0. And we expect it to be on Zoom. We haven't heard anything different from the VA hospital or any place else.
Can I just mention one thing, Tom?
Yes, go ahead.
Zoom is now requiring that all meetings use either a waiting room or a password. And so we will be instituting a password starting with the August meeting. So there will be a new link for this meeting starting in August.
Okay, so when we send our flyer out, we will include that password. Is that right,
That's
Sunny?
correct. And it will be incorporated into the link. So if you click the link, then you don't have to type it in.
And we'll get that flyer out early enough, as long as Sunny keeps cracking the whip, making sure I get things so that it's sent out usually the weekend before, to remind you of the Speakers Bureau meeting.
Hey, Tom, did I hear you ask us to send a chat to Michael Osier?
Yes, Michael Osier will be collecting the ballots of your QS.
That's right. That's right.
Right, yes or no, that'll just do it, and he can collect those, and we'll make the announcement, as is always the case. Within 24 hours, we will let John Grant know the results. Okay, I'll be looking in the future for next month. The program is still somewhat open because we're still deciding about whether we'll be doing QSs on Zoom, but we would like a QS to give a presentation from the Better Speaker Series. If you need that, I can send that to you. I have it on my computer, so I can send it on. You can make a decision about what you would like to speak about. And we'll have some other things going on too, but that's the plan right now. And if anybody has questions for any of our speakers, I think we have, a minute or two is about it. So thank the speakers for being here. And if anybody wants to hang around after the end and see whether any speakers have answers to any questions, it'll be a chance to do that. I think we've officially reached the end of our meeting though, but I don't know how long Sunny wants to stick around and be our host, but she can.
Marilyn has her hand up.
Yeah, I have a club. I'm actually EVP of one club. I know, I forget on the other one, but I have a club that I'd like to have a QS come talk to us about Toastmasters. And do I just contact Tom or Michael or anybody?
Start with me, but we'll make sure you have a list of the QSs, and we'll find those that are available certain times of day. It would be good to know the time the club meets so that we can know if they're on Zoom. We would actually like to get a collection of those clubs that meet on Zoom and a time that they meet, and maybe we send that out to QSs so that they can volunteer to go visit all those clubs. And even if they just stop by and say hi, it will stimulate them. And if they get a chance to speak for a few minutes and then mention Speakers Bureau or give a full presentation. Either of those would be good for the club and the speaker.
And Roz has her hand up too.
Thank you. Listen, I have one question. I thought what Jose mentioned was an outstanding idea. Who will coordinate the clubs that are in the tweens, 13 to 19 members, so that we're all not clamoring to look on the dashboard and see what clubs we can assist and then forget about others who are not contacted? Will there be some kind of organized
looking for numbers of volunteers to run the entire Speakers Bureau? That would certainly be one of the volunteer positions we would have open.
Okay.
That, someone doing social media and somebody else doing print publicity.
Okay, I'm offering to help. Thank you.
You want to do the coordinating of those clubs that need speakers, and that would be great.
I'll have something.
All right, Tom and Connie, I haven't heard from you, and who else didn't I hear from?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna do it twice here, I guess.
You can text me and tell me which one votes which way. And Sybil, I don't see your vote yet.
I'm not a QS.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were. My mistake.
Thanks for your portion of me.
I'm happy to keep the room open for about half an hour after if people want to visit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sonny. So if you have questions, just speak up. And if this person is still in the room, you can check by looking at the gallery view and you'll know they're still there. I am sure that they will be willing to answer questions. If they're not, I'll hear about it later.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to leave because I got a couple of phone calls to make. So good night. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
I'm stopping the recording, Tom.
Okay.